Senate being the citadel of hope. It is the place that everybody looks at, a place of wisdom. And there are many questions Kenyans are asking. Is this the same Senate that Senator Haji, the chair of BBI, is sitting? Is this the same Senate that Attorney General Emeritus Amos Wako is sitting? Is this the same Senate that has three, Mr. Speaker, senior counsels in law, Senator Orengo, Senator Mogeni? Is this the same Senate, Mr. Speaker, that has elders that the whole country is looking up to for leadership? Why would a Senate with that repository of knowledge and wisdom and experience be a house where we cannot agree on a process that unites the country? Mr. Speaker, the conversation that is going on at the moment, Senator Sakaja has brought a very important amendment to the committee report, but Mr. Speaker, it has not helped to unite the country. The original report will not help unite the country. But there is an opportunity for all of us as a Senate to have a conversation, Mr. Speaker, around this subject matter and come to a conclusion that, Mr. Speaker, those who are losing by a huge margin may perhaps lose very little. Those who are gaining by a huge margin, Mr. Speaker, may gain a little. And then we keep our country together. Mr. Speaker, it is with this in mind that, Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask that this House, Mr. Speaker, adjourns the debate on this report, and we find ways. We cannot, Mr. Speaker, this House cannot, Mr. Speaker, be defeated to find solution. Because I ask myself, Mr. Speaker, the majority leader in this House comes from a party that got the highest number of MPs from Samburu, from, Mr. Speaker, Narok, from, Mr. Speaker, Garissa. How would even its party leader sitting in this House, Mr. Speaker, feel to vote against Samburu, which gave that party 3 members of parliament? What will Senator Lelekwe go back to Samburu and tell them? And what does the party leader of that party go and tell the people of Samburu? Mr. Speaker, we cannot close our eyes on the fact that if you look at the map, and Senator Orengo captured it very well last week, I wish we listened to Senator Orengo. And Mr. Speaker, because if you look at the map of the losers, Mr. Speaker, you will realize that there is a big, huge red map of a greater landmass of this country, Mr. Speaker, who are losing. And then there are dots in green in a particular corner that are gaining. And then, Mr. Speaker, we have the confidence to tell the people of Kenya, Kenya is about population. But the definition of a country, its people and its territory, Mr. Speaker. We cannot close our eyes on the conversation that Mandera, Mr. Speaker, even though it has few people now and less occupied by people, is because, Mr. Speaker, its potential has not been exploited. Mr. Speaker, in the same manner, Mr. Speaker, I would say that other counties like Turkana, which are 700,000 people, Mr. Speaker, less than 1 million people,
Senator
if we develop it well, Mr. Speaker.
Order. Senator Cherargei, what's your intervention?
My issue is concerned that my leader, Senator Murkomen, wants to mislead the country. The Kangangata amendment was proposed.
Senator Murkomen, take your seat in the meantime and put on your mask. Okay.
Senator Murkomen is making a very good presentation, but he should not mislead the country on one thing. That the Kangata amendment had proposed to freeze for 3 financial years to ensure the part of the country can find solution to this issue. So my point of order is he should stop misleading the country and tell us that he is supporting Senator Sakaja's amendment instead of glossing over issues. Thank you, Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, first of all, Senator Sierrake, whom I truly respect and have said in this House, and he truly respects me, who was my very bright student, Mr. Speaker, has moved to a different subject, which is the motion itself. I am moving an adjournment motion, and I'm making a case for this adjournment motion, Mr. Speaker. And I'm saying that, Mr. Speaker, it's not possible. It's not possible, Mr. Speaker, that the rest of us who come from the few parts of our country that are dotted with green would, Mr. Speaker, congregate in the chambers of this House and disregard completely our brothers and sisters that are crying for conversation. A country that is not able to sit down with its own people, a leadership, Mr. Speaker, of a Senate like this that has men and women who are aspiring to lead this country, some who are party leaders, cannot, Mr. Speaker, take sides against its citizens, Mr. Speaker. The reason why, Mr. Speaker, today people are not occupying, Mr. Speaker, Turkana, and everybody was running there when we say there is oil, is because of its potential. Let me ask you, Mr. Speaker, there are many counties that are going to get greater resources, but Taita Taveta County, Mr. Speaker, which has Savo National Park, which contributes immensely, Mr. Speaker, to our national resources, Mr. Speaker, is supposed to be one of the counties we should ignore and say there are few people, we forget about it. I am requesting under Standing Order 105, Mr. Speaker, that once more, let's give, Mr. Speaker, reason, Mr. Speaker, an opportunity.
Order, Senator?
Let's give, Mr.
Senator,
Speaker, an opportunity.
There's a point of order from Senator Kangata.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 58 of the Senate, and I read to you certain motions not to be moved. Sabbatical 1, no motion which is the same in substance as any question which has been resolved, either in the affirmative or in the negative, may be moved during the preceding 6 months in the same session. Mr. Speaker, sir, before this motion
Can you take your seats? You are standing.
Yeah. Mr. Speaker, sir, before this motion is supported by whoever will second it, I need your ruling on the question whether this motion is the same as the motion that was moved last week by Honorable Senator James Orengo, which we voted on, and it was defeated. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
It's different. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, because it's so obvious that the adjournment motion Senator Orengo moved was during the amendment of Senator Kangata. And I think, Mr. Speaker, let's make really, I know I was not asked to make any rule, you will make it at your own time, but allow me to just conclude, Mr. Speaker, what the motion I was moving, unless...
The point of order, Senator Sakaja.
Mr. Speaker, well, at this point, I may not fully agree with the motion by Senator Murkomen, and I'm waiting to hear him. I just like, Mr. Speaker, because you've been asked by the majority whip to make a decision. First, I'd like to encourage him to be reading things to the end. It's a very nice habit, Mr. Speaker. Standing Order 58 talks about a motion in its substance, and that is mainly substantive motions. But if you go to 58.2, it says, despite even that provision, a motion to rescind the decision on such a question may be moved with your permission. And the fact that you've allowed Senator Murkomen to move it means that you've actually given him permission to move a motion to consider that decision that was made by the House. So, Mr. Speaker, it is just an exhortation to the whip to read more.
Okay, Senator Murkomen, conclude.
So, Mr. Speaker, I was at the point before I was interrupted. Mr. Speaker, I have tremendous respect for Senator Kangata because he's the Sonu leader who led us to the streets when I joined first year. And
Whip, can you take your seat?
And it's actually
standing orders.
For the record of the public, when we joined the University of Nairobi, Senator Kangata was the Sonu vice chair. So, and he led a very serious demonstration, Mr. Speaker, which we came up to Parliament here to see people like Senator Orengo. And these are the guys we were looking up to. And Mr. Speaker, he was then expelled and sought the help of Senator Mutula. And I'm sure he's very sympathetic to the situation of Makueni, Mr. Speaker, because Senator Mutula came through for him that time. Suffice to note that we went to campaign with him as a councillor in Muranga. So I have a lot of respect for him. And Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to say, I was at the point where I was saying, there is no part of our country that we can really donate to anybody. In fact, I had the trouble, Mr. Speaker, as the chair of devolution committee. I visited Tana River, I visited Garissa, I visited, Mr. Speaker, Wajir, I visited Marsabit and Turkana. And it was deliberate as a devolution committee. We told ourselves, in last time, it was important. Senator Amos Wako bears me witness. And we were given a chance to address county assemblies to understand the marginalization of those regions. Mr. Speaker, I wish our conversation about those counties, Mr. Speaker, would be done when we are visiting those areas. Mr. Speaker, this country, there are parts of this nation that people are still walking without clothes. There are parts of this nation in Wajir where people are drinking water. They have to go for 1 week to get water. Mr. Speaker, for us to appreciate this kind of conversation, I am requesting my colleagues, let's give dialogue one more chance. Let's adjourn this motion, Mr. Speaker, for us to have a conversation, Mr. Speaker, on how to find a way forward that, Mr. Speaker, can unite all of us.
Senator Bogisho.
And, Mr. Speaker,
there's another point of order from the leader of Majority. Try to conclude, Senator Murkomen. So that
I'm concluding.
But
I'm just saying that the consultations and even distance, keeping the people are not keeping the distances.
Senators, please, coronavirus is real. Please observe the protocols. Social distance, please, please, please. We are pleading with you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I really want to beg my colleagues, like Senator Orengo attempted last time, I want to try this last attempt to request my colleagues that, Mr. Speaker, we have a chance. Those of us who come from Jubilee and those of us who come from ODM, the people of Kenya respected us and elected Uhuru Kenyatta to become president. He is not president of only the 28 of us. The people of Kenya respected us and gave the former prime minister such large amount of votes that he almost became president.
What's your point of order?
He's a leader for all of us. I request, Mr. Speaker.
There's a point of order. Take your seat, Senator.
Speaker, is the distinguished Senator for Elgeyo Marakwet in order to insinuate that there are only two parties in this House? There is ANC, there is Wiper, Democratic Party, there is KANU, there is CCU, there is Ford Kenya led by yours truly, and the other parties. There's even an independent. You can't insinuate that there are only two parties, Jubilee and ODM. Are you in order?
Senator Murkomen, I think...
Mr. Speaker...
Order, Senator.
Yeah.
You will have to conclude because of time. We have a very heavy agenda ahead of us.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I really beg I was just saying, I recognize Senator Moses Masika Wetangula as the bona fide party leader of Ford Kenya, Mr. Speaker. So I wanted just to go on record. And, Mr. Speaker, just to say that the reason why I mentioned Jubilee and I mentioned ODM is because the Bible says, to whom much is given, much is expected. Mr. Speaker, because it is us who are given more votes, the minorities, the marginalized, the corners of this country that gave us these votes that we lead, Mr. Speaker, expect much from us. And the Bible says in Luke chapter 6 that, Mr. Speaker, if you love those who only love you, what benefit is it to you, Mr. Speaker? I know, Mr. Speaker, a whole region, a whole part of the country is suffering. We must demonstrate our love as a Senate to find a lasting solution. And I have no doubt in my mind that reason will prevail if we take off this agenda at the moment. I have seen, Mr. Speaker, as part of my conclusion, other proposed amendments by Senator Wamatangi, among others. This gives us room for us to go and find a lasting and uniting formula. And I beg my brother, Senator Sakaja, even though we have received as many threats and many problems, including headlines, I beg you, my brother, to accept this adjournment motion and be part and support it. Let's find a formula that will unite our country. I beg to